Before we start, a quick disclaimer. This presentation is for educational and entertainment purposes only. The analysis and opinions expressed here are my own and are not intended as professional marketing or financial advice. We're deconstructing the strategies of a public company to learn from them, not to tell you how to invest or run your business. Progressive Insurance spends over $2 billion a year on advertising. $2 billion. That's more than the entire GDP of some small countries. It's a number so large it almost loses its meaning. It's about $5.5 million every single day, $230,000 every hour, almost $4,000 every single minute of every single day just on ads. Now, when a company spends that kind of money, they're not just guessing. They're not just throwing things at the wall and hoping something sticks. They are operating from a precise, calculated, and ruthlessly effective playbook. And for the last decade, you have been a subject in their grand experiment. You've seen Flo. You've seen Jamie. You've seen Dr. Rick teaching new homeowners not to open a gift and say, "We'll find a place for it." You've seen all the pieces, but you've never been shown the blueprint. Until today. In this video, I'm going to pull back the curtain on the secret marketing formula that Progressive has perfected. This isn't just about funny commercials. This is a masterclass in psychology, storytelling, and brand building that has turned a once boring product, insurance, into a cultural phenomenon. I'm going to break down the hidden architecture of their character development, the psychological triggers they use to build trust, and the narrative framework that keeps them so far ahead of their competition. And the most important part? By the end of this, you won't just understand how they do it. You will have a framework of powerful, actionable principles that you can apply to your own life. Whether you're trying to build a personal brand, grow a small business, create content that people actually want to watch, or just become a more persuasive communicator, the lessons from Progressive's playbook are universal. We are going to decode why you feel a certain way about these characters, and how that feeling translates into billions of dollars in revenue. So, what is the fundamental problem that Progressive solved? It's the fact that most advertising is garbage. Let's be honest. We hate ads. They interrupt our favorite shows, they clog up our social media feeds, they're loud, they're obnoxious, and most of the time they're completely forgettable. Our brains have evolved to build powerful ad blockers right into our consciousness. We tune it out. We look at our phones. We fast forward. The default human response to being marketed to is rejection. And this is especially true for products like insurance. Nobody wakes up in the morning excited to shop for a new car insurance policy. It's a chore. It's a commodity. It's a product you are legally required to buy, and you hope you never ever have to use. So how do you sell something that people are forced to buy but hate thinking about? Most companies try to solve this with two tired strategies. The first is fear. A terrible thing could happen, you need us. Think of those dramatic black and white commercials with slow-motion car crashes. It's effective, but it's a terrible way to build a positive brand. The second strategy is price. We're the cheapest. Save 15% or more. This is a race to the bottom. If your only selling point is being the cheapest, you have no brand loyalty. The moment someone else is a penny cheaper, your customers are gone. Progressive looked at this landscape and chose a third, far more difficult, and far more powerful path: entertainment. They decided to make their advertising a welcome guest instead of an annoying intruder. They set out to create a world filled with characters that you actually don't mind seeing. They decided to become a small, recurring sitcom that airs in 30-second episodes. This wasn't an accident, it was a revolution. And it all started with one character who broke every rule of advertising. It all began with Flo. Now, to understand the genius of Flo, you have to understand what she replaced. Before her, insurance spokespeople were one of two things. They were either deep-voiced, authoritative, trustworthy male figures, or they were animated geckos and ducks. They were meant to project stability or be goofy mascots. Flo was neither. She was a person. A slightly weird, overly enthusiastic, quirky retail employee. Played by actress Stephanie Courtney, Flo was designed from the ground up to be the ultimate anti-spokesperson. Think about her look. The stark white uniform, the retro beehive hairdo, the bright red lipstick, the Flo name tag. It's a costume. It's deliberately theatrical and slightly unnatural. This is critical. It signals to our brain that this is a performance. We're in on the joke. She's not pretending to be a real insurance agent who just happened to be on camera. She's a character playing one. This immediately lowers our cynical defenses. But the real genius is in her personality. Flo is relentlessly, almost unnervingly upbeat and helpful. Her entire existence is focused on solving the customer's problem with a smile. She lives and breathes for the Name Your Price tool. This personality serves a massive psychological purpose. It acts as a direct counterpoint to the actual experience of dealing with insurance, which is often frustrating, confusing, and bureaucratic. Flo is the idealized version of customer service. She is what we wish the experience was like. The setting they built around her was just as important, the Superstore. A giant, bright white, clean, and organized box store for insurance. This is a masterstroke of metaphorical marketing. Insurance is an intangible product. It's a promise. It's a complex contract filled with legal jargon. You can't touch it, hold it, or see it. Our brains struggle with abstract concepts like that. So what did Progressive do? They made it tangible. They turned the confusing abstract idea of shopping for policies into the simple, familiar, and concrete experience of walking into a Target or a Walmart. In the Superstore, insurance isn't a scary contract. It's a product in a box on a shelf. You can compare them. You can put them in your cart. You have options. The Superstore is a physical manifestation of Progressive's core value proposition: choice and simplicity. They took a dreaded task and reframed it as a simple shopping trip, with Flo as your impossibly helpful personal shopper. This combination of a perfectly imperfect character and a powerful concrete metaphor was the foundation of the entire empire. Flo wasn't a celebrity. She wasn't a supermodel. She was approachable. She was non-threatening. Her quirkiness made her memorable, and her relentless helpfulness made the brand seem friendly. For years, this was enough. Flo and the Superstore single-handedly changed the game. But then the market started to catch on. Other brands tried to create their own Flo. The quirky spokesperson became a trend. And for any brand to survive, it must evolve. Progressive knew that Flo alone was not the end of the story. She was just the first act. They needed to expand the universe to deepen the narrative. They realized that to keep our attention, they couldn't just rely on one character. They needed a cast. They needed relationships. They needed conflict. And they found the key to their next billion-dollar evolution in the most unlikely of places: a bumbling, insecure, and utterly devoted sidekick. A man named Jamie. And the introduction of this one character would subtly shift the entire formula, paving the way for everything that was to come, and revealing the second, even more powerful pillar of their marketing machine. He arrived in 2011, not with a bang, but with a polite, almost painfully earnest enthusiasm. Jamie, played by actor Jim Cashman, wasn't another insurance expert. He wasn't a slick salesperson or a rival. He was Flo's biggest fan. Right from the start, his entire character was built around a sense of subordinate awe. While Flo was the calm, confident center of the Progressive universe, Jamie was its perpetually orbiting, slightly clumsy moon. He was the eager intern who never leaves, the sidekick who is forever in training. He admired Flo, he wanted to be Flo, but he could never quite be Flo. And in that simple, calculated difference, Progressive unlocked the second pillar of its marketing dynasty. Before Jamie, every commercial was a direct conversation between Flo and a potential customer. She looked at you, the viewer, and explained the benefits. It was effective, but it was still fundamentally an advertisement. You were being sold to. The arrival of Jamie fundamentally changed the camera's perspective. Suddenly, we weren't being pitched to anymore. We were eavesdropping. We were watching a workplace interaction. Flo was no longer just talking to us. She was training her new, overeager employee. She was explaining the Name Your Price tool to Jamie. She was showing the discounts to Jamie. And Jamie's reaction, his wide-eyed, genuine-seeming amazement, became a proxy for our own. This is a powerful psychological trick. When someone is trying to sell you something directly, your guard is up. You're naturally skeptical. You're analyzing their claims, looking for the catch. But when you overhear two people talking, your defense is lower. You become a passive observer, absorbing the information without the pressure of a direct sales pitch. Progressive was no longer saying, "Hey you should be amazed by our low rates." Instead, they were showing us Jamie, who was already amazed for us. His "wow, that's a great deal" felt more authentic than a narrator's voiceover ever could. He was the audience's avatar, our man on the inside. He was the relatable witness. Think about the classic dynamic. Flo holds the Name Your Price tool. A customer walks in. Before, Flo would have explained it directly to them. Now, Jamie steps forward, fumbling his words, trying to explain it himself, but getting a key detail wrong. Flo then steps in, gently corrects him with a smile, and delivers the perfect, concise explanation. In that one 10-second interaction, Progressive accomplishes three things. First, they deliver the sales message. Second, they reinforce Flo's status as the calm, likable expert. But third, and most importantly, they make the whole exchange feel human. It's a moment of mentorship. It's a relatable workplace scenario. It's funny. It's charming. And because we're watching this little slice-of-life comedy play out, we forget we're watching a commercial. The sales pitch is smuggled into our brains inside a Trojan horse of entertainment. Jamie's character was meticulously crafted for this role. He isn't dumb, but he is naive. He isn't incompetent, but he is clumsy. He's the personification of good intentions. He wants to do a good job so badly that he often tries too hard. Remember the commercial where he proudly presents a policy to a customer, complete with sprinkles, because he heard them say they wanted all the toppings? Flo has to gently explain that's not how it works. It's a silly, memorable gag, but its purpose is strategic. It allows Flo to clarify what Progressive actually offers, while positioning Jamie as the lovable goofball who represents the well-meaning but slightly confused consumer. He asks the dumb questions so we don't have to. His confusion gives Flo a reason to explain things in the simplest terms, providing immense clarity to the audience without ever making them feel condescended to. He is the perfect foil, a comedic partner whose primary function is to make the star, and the brand she represents, shine even brighter. This introduction of a second character did more than just change the dynamic of the ads. It began the process of world building. The Superstore was no longer just a sterile, white, conceptual space. It was now a place of work. It had employees. It had relationships. It had a culture. By giving Flo a sidekick, Progressive was subtly telling us that this wasn't just a series of disconnected commercials. This was a continuing story. You weren't just tuning in to see the latest deal. You were tuning in to see the next episode in the ongoing saga of Flo and Jamie. This is the seed of the modern brand universe, a concept that Marvel Studios would perfect on the big screen, but which Progressive was quietly mastering in 30-second increments. They were creating a sitcom, and the price of admission was simply watching their ads. This second pillar, the relatable witness, is a masterclass in indirect selling. It's the understanding that the most effective messenger is often not the expert, but the fellow convert. Jamie's genuine belief in the product, his constant astonishment at the value Progressive offers, serves as a powerful form of social proof. If this guy who works there every single day is still this impressed, the logic goes, then it must be really good. He is the perpetual first-time customer, experiencing the brand's benefits with fresh eyes in every single commercial. He never becomes jaded. He never loses his enthusiasm. He is a walking, talking 5-star review, integrated seamlessly into the narrative. So the formula was evolving. It began with Pillar 1, the helpful oracle, a single trustworthy guide in a confusing industry. Now they had added Pillar 2, the relatable witness, a character who stands in for the audience, validating their questions and mirroring the positive reaction the brand wants to create. This two-person dynamic of mentor and apprentice, expert and enthusiast, became the engine of Progressive's marketing for years. But this expansion, this realization that the Superstore could be more than just Flo, opened a door. If 2 characters work so well, what about 3? What about 5? What if the Superstore wasn't just a duo, but an entire ensemble cast? Progressive was about to take the sitcom framework they had accidentally created with Flo and Jamie and intentionally blow it up into a full-fledged cinematic universe, adding a sprawling cast of characters who would transform their ad campaigns into must-see TV and reveal the third, and perhaps most ambitious pillar of their entire strategy, the pillar of world building. Progressive didn't just want characters, they wanted a universe. A place with its own rules, its own history, and a cast so deep it could rival a network sitcom. They weren't just making commercials anymore. They were producing a show, and the price of admission was watching a 30-second ad. After establishing Flo as the sun and Jamie as the moon orbiting her, the team at Arnold Worldwide began to populate the cosmos. They started inside the Superstore, transforming it from a sterile white void into a legitimate workplace, a stage for a classic ensemble comedy. First came Mara, played by Natalie Palamides. Mara was the perfect counter-frequency to Flo's relentless optimism. She was the deadpan, cynical, underwhelmed employee who has seen it all and is impressed by nothing. This wasn't just adding another character for variety. It was a move of strategic genius. Mara's cynicism grounds Flo's surreal peppiness. It makes the entire scenario more relatable. We've all had that one coworker who's a ray of sunshine and another who's a perpetual thundercloud. By creating that dynamic, Progressive made the Superstore feel less like an ad and more like a real office, albeit one where you can bundle home and auto. Mara's presence gave Flo a new comedic partner to play off of, creating fresh storylines and preventing the dreaded character fatigue that can kill a long-running campaign. Then they added Rodney, the overly eager, slightly goofy go-getter, always trying a little too hard to impress. He was another essential sitcom archetype, the lovable buffoon. With Rodney, Flo, Jamie, and Mara, you now had the four pillars of a workplace comedy. The cheerful leader, the loyal but less competent sidekick, the sarcastic cynic, and the try-hard. You could drop these four characters into any scenario. A training session, a holiday party, a new product launch, and the comedy would write itself. This is the world-building engine in action. It's an investment in a system that generates its own content endlessly. They were no longer reliant on a single joke or a single character. They had built a narrative machine. But why go to all this trouble? Why spend millions building a fictional world just to sell insurance? Because Progressive understood a fundamental truth about modern advertising. People don't hate ads, they hate being interrupted. If you can make the ad itself the entertainment, if you can make people genuinely want to see what happens next in the lives of these characters, you haven't just bought 30 seconds of their time, you've earned a piece of their attention. You're no longer the annoying interruption during their favorite show. You are their favorite show, just in bite-sized pieces. People started talking about the Progressive commercials around the water cooler. They had favorite characters. They debated which ones were the funniest. Progressive had achieved the advertiser's holy grail, cultural relevance. This world building also allowed for deeper character development, rewarding long-term viewers. Take Jamie. He didn't stay the generic other employee for long. The writers started giving him his own bizarre quirks. His obsession with sprinkles became a running gag, a small detail that made him feel more like a real eccentric person. It was a signal to the audience. We care about this world as much as you do. We're paying attention to the details. This kind of long-form, serialized storytelling is almost unheard of in the world of insurance advertising, and it's a key reason why the campaign has had such incredible staying power. When you see a new Progressive ad, you're not just evaluating a sales pitch, you're catching up with old friends. Having established the core sitcom cast, Progressive then did something even bolder. They began to expand the universe outside the four walls of the Superstore. They started introducing characters who weren't employees, who lived in the wider world but were still intrinsically linked to the Progressive brand. This is where we get the Motor, part man, part motorcycle. It's a bizarre, unforgettable image, but it serves a very specific purpose. It's a personification of Progressive's deep understanding of a niche market, the die-hard motorcycle enthusiast. The Motor isn't selling you on low rates, he's speaking to the soul of a rider. He's a living, breathing embodiment of the feeling of freedom on the open road. By creating this mythical creature, Progressive could run an entire campaign targeted squarely at bikers that still felt like it belonged to the same creative family as Flo and Jamie. The world was getting bigger, but the single greatest leap in their world-building strategy, the move that elevated their marketing from brilliant to legendary, was the creation of a character who never once sets foot in the Superstore and barely even mentions the word insurance. I'm talking, of course, about Dr. Rick. Dr. Rick isn't a salesperson, he's a parental life coach. His mission is to help new homeowners avoid turning into their parents. The genius here is staggering. Progressive identified a deep, hilarious, and universally relatable anxiety among its target demographic, the fear of parentamorphosis. We all see ourselves doing it. We comment on the traffic, we get excited about a new vacuum cleaner, we give unsolicited advice. Dr. Rick doesn't sell a product. He sells a solution to a social malady. The commercials are masterclasses in observational comedy. A group of young adults are gathered, and Dr. Rick gently corrects their parent-like behavior. We all see the sign. Okay, the waiter doesn't need a biography. The house isn't settling. You have a foundation problem. It's so painfully accurate it feels less like an ad and more like a sketch from Saturday Night Live. And where is the sales pitch? It's almost invisible. The only connection to Progressive is the subtle framing. These are new homeowners. The unspoken message is that making smart, adult decisions like choosing the right home insurance is the antidote to becoming your parents. Progressive isn't just a provider. They're a partner in navigating the pitfalls of adulthood. With Dr. Rick, the Progressive universe had achieved a new level of sophistication. They now had multiple, concurrent storylines running, each targeting a different demographic with a different emotional appeal. You had the light-hearted workplace comedy of the Superstore for broad mass-market appeal. You had the hyper-targeted, cool subculture of the Motor for enthusiasts. And you had the sharp, satirical social commentary of Dr. Rick for the savvy, self-aware millennial homeowner. It was a multi-pronged narrative attack, all flowing from the same creative wellspring. They had built a world so robust and so compelling that they could tell any kind of story they wanted. But building a world is one thing. Defending it from invaders is another. And when their biggest rival came knocking with a talking lizard and a flock of emus, Progressive had to unleash the fourth, most brutally effective weapon in their marketing arsenal. The fourth weapon wasn't a character. It was an entirely new battlefield. See, Progressive understood a fundamental truth about modern advertising. You can't out-Geico Geico. You can't create a cuter, funnier, more enduring talking animal. To fight a gecko, you don't build a better gecko. You change the entire game. So, while their rivals were busy building self-contained, fictional worlds, Progressive built a mirror. They created the ad within an ad, a metaverse. Instead of just making commercials, Progressive started making commercials about people making commercials, or commercials that felt like short sponsored sitcoms. It was a subtle but seismic shift. They were no longer just asking you to visit their Superstore. They were positioning themselves as the smart, self-aware sponsor of hilarious, relatable content. And the first shot fired in this new meta-war was so precise, so devastatingly funny, that it became a cultural phenomenon all on its own. That weapon was Dr. Rick. Think about the sheer genius of the Dr. Rick campaign. He is not a Progressive employee. He doesn't sell insurance. He doesn't wear a white apron or work in the Superstore. He is a parental life coach, and we, the audience, are watching what feels like a public service announcement or a documentary series that Progressive just happens to be sponsoring. This framing is the key. It immediately separates the campaign from the hard sell. It gives them permission to talk about something universally true and human without having to awkwardly connect it back to bundling your home and auto. And what is that truth? That we are all slowly but surely turning into our parents. It's an insight so sharp it feels personal to every single person watching. The genius is in the details, the excruciatingly specific, perfectly observed micro-behaviors. The dad at the airport trying to guess the flight status on the big board as if it's a game of Battleship. The woman in the grocery store blocking the entire aisle with her cart, completely oblivious. The guy trying to pronounce quinoa. Or the classic, we all see it. We all see it. These aren't jokes in the traditional sense. They are anthropological observations. They work because we don't just laugh at the characters on screen, we laugh at ourselves, our spouses, our actual parents. We see the truth. Dr. Rick isn't scolding them. He's trying to help. The waiter doesn't need to know your name. No one needs a hard copy of the menu. It's not a Bluetooth. It's just Bluetooth. Each ad is a miniature therapy session for the modern adult, and Progressive is the benevolent brand that made it possible. This approach completely bypasses our natural cynicism towards advertising. We're not being sold to. We're being entertained by a brilliant comedic concept. The Progressive logo at the end feels less like a brand message and more like a credit. This moment of self-recognition was brought to you by Progressive. The goodwill this generates is immeasurable. It positions them not as a corporation, but as a cultural commentator with a sense of humor. They get it. They get us. And while Geico's Gecko is promising you 15 minutes, Dr. Rick is saving you from a lifetime of telling strangers your life story in the checkout line. It's a masterclass in value proposition. But Dr. Rick wasn't an anomaly. He was the proof of concept for the entire metaverse strategy. Once they knew it worked, they started building out an entire roster of characters, each living in their own little ad within an ad universe. Take the sign spinner. The commercial isn't about insurance. It's a mockumentary-style interview with a guy who is so passionate about his job as a sign spinner for Progressive that he overthinks every detail. It's a character study. We're watching a story about a quirky individual, and the product is just the backdrop. It's another layer of separation that makes the brand feel more like a patron of the arts than a pushy salesperson. Then you have the rebel, the biker character played by the brilliant Jim Cashman, who also happens to be Jamie. Here, he's a leather-clad guy who talks a big game about living on the edge, but his rebellion is all about sensible savings and great coverage. It's a parody of a different kind of commercial, the rugged, tough guy ad. By creating a character who subverts that trope, Progressive is winking at the audience again, saying, We know these ads are ridiculous, so let's have fun with it. This meta strategy is brutally effective for 3 reasons. First, it gives them infinite flexibility. Geico is locked into its Gecko. Liberty Mutual has its Emu. But Progressive? They can launch a dozen new shows a year. If a character like Dr. Rick becomes a home run, they can build him out into a franchise. If another character doesn't quite land, they can quietly retire him without damaging the core brand. It was just one short-lived show they sponsored. No harm, no foul. This allows them to constantly test new ideas, new comedic tones, and new talent, keeping their advertising portfolio diversified and fresh. They aren't just a TV show, they're a whole TV network. Second, it makes them almost impossible to attack. How do you parody a brand that is already a parody of advertising? You can't. They've co-opted the very language of satire. By being the ones to point out the absurdity of commercial tropes, they inoculate themselves from criticism. Any competitor trying to make fun of them would just look like they were late to the party. Progressive built a moat around their brand made of pure, unadulterated self-awareness. And third, and most importantly, it fundamentally changes the relationship with the audience. The old model of advertising was a one-way conversation, a brand shouting its message at a passive viewer. The Progressive metaverse turns it into a shared experience. It creates an in-group. When you laugh at a Dr. Rick ad, you're not just laughing at a commercial. You're participating in a cultural conversation that Progressive initiated. You feel smarter, more discerning. You're in on the joke. And that feeling of being understood is far more powerful and persuasive than any discount or slogan. They successfully defended their world not by building higher walls, but by creating a constellation of new worlds, all orbiting the central Progressive brand. They turned their advertising from a monologue into a dialogue, and in doing so, created a roster of characters that could finally go toe-to-toe with the Gecko and the Emu. They had built an empire of relatable, funny, and infinitely scalable ideas. But this sprawling empire created an entirely new and unexpected problem. A civil war was brewing inside the original Superstore, and the biggest threat to Flo's reign wasn't a lizard from another company. It was coming from inside the house. The problem with the universe is that it can only have one center. For years, the Progressive Superstore revolved around a single smiling white-aproned son, Flo. Every new character, every customer, every quirky scenario was a planet caught in her gravitational pull. But as the universe expanded, so did the ambition within the company's marketing department. They began to ask a dangerous question, the kind of question that topples empires. What if Flo isn't the only star in the galaxy? What if she isn't even the right one for everyone? This wasn't just a creative debate. It was a schism, a fundamental split in the philosophy of how to sell something as boring as insurance. On one side, you had Camp Flo, the believers in quirky, character-driven, soft-sell advertising. They argued that connection, not a hard pitch, was the key. On the other side, a new faction emerged. Let's call them the traditionalists. They looked at the data, the demographics, and saw a segment of the market that wasn't responding to Flo's offbeat charm. They saw older, more conservative customers who didn't want a quirky friend. They wanted a straightforward expert. They wanted a classic salesman. And so, in 2011, the traditionalists launched their champion, a challenger to the throne. He walked into Flo's Superstore, but he was everything she was not. He wore a sharp suit, not a white apron. He had a confident, slick smile, not a goofy, endearing one. He didn't have a name. He was simply the messenger. The messenger was a walking, talking embodiment of pre-Flo advertising. He was the handsome, generic pitchman pulled straight from a 1980s car commercial. His entire purpose was to deliver a single, clear message. You can save money with Progressive. There were no jokes about his family, no weird interactions with customers, no sprinkles. He was a surgical instrument designed for one purpose, while Flo was a Swiss Army knife of branding. And just like that, the Civil War began. It was fought in 30-second increments on television screens across America. In one commercial break, you'd see Flo cheerfully helping a confused biker find the right policy. In the very next break, you'd see the messenger standing confidently in the exact same aisle, looking directly into the camera and delivering a polished pitch about rates and discounts. It was jarring. The Superstore, once a cohesive, unified world, now felt like a territory in dispute. Two rival ideologies were competing for the same space, vying for the customer's attention. This wasn't a mistake. It was a deliberate, high-stakes, multi-million-dollar A/B test played out in public. Progressive was hedging its bets. They were terrified of Flo fatigue. The idea that the public would eventually get sick of her. The messenger was their insurance policy against their own insurance icon. More than that, it was a masterclass in audience segmentation. Progressive hypothesized that their total addressable market was split. You had the flow people, who loved the entertainment and the character, and the messenger people, who just wanted the facts delivered professionally. By running both campaigns simultaneously, they believed they could capture both ends of the spectrum. It was a brilliant, if cynical, strategy. They were effectively pitting two opposing marketing philosophies against each other in a real-time battle for results. Every metric was tracked: ad recall, brand sentiment, social media chatter, and, most importantly, the number of people who actually went online to get a quote after seeing an ad. This was a data-driven duel to the death. In one corner, you have the quirky, lovable hero who built the empire. In the other, the slick, corporate-approved challenger designed to optimize conversions. At first, the data might have looked promising for the messenger. His ads were clear, concise, and professional. Focus groups likely responded well to his directness. He was inoffensive. He was safe. He communicated the core value proposition, saving money, without any distracting fluff. For the faction inside Progressive that had grown wary of Flo's eccentricities, he was the perfect antidote. He was predictable. He was controllable. You always knew what you were going to get with the messenger. But they had made a colossal miscalculation. They had forgotten the most powerful, unpredictable force in all of marketing: culture. The messenger could deliver a line, but he couldn't create a moment. He was a vessel for a marketing message. Flo was the message. People don't form emotional connections with a sales pitch. They don't write fan mail to a demographic target. And they certainly don't dress up as the handsome guy in the suit for Halloween. The messenger was perfectly engineered, but he was sterile. He had no soul. Flo, on the other hand, was overflowing with it. She was flawed, she was a little weird, she was relatable. While the messenger was talking at the audience, Flo was talking with them. He was a broadcast, she was a conversation. The war that was supposed to be a close-fought battle turned into a rout. The public didn't just prefer Flo. They were loyal to her. They had invested years in her story. She wasn't just a spokesperson. She was a familiar face, a cultural touchstone. Trying to replace her with a generic pitchman was like trying to replace Mickey Mouse with a stock photo of a rodent. It fundamentally misunderstood why people cared in the first place. The messenger campaign was quietly retired. He vanished from the Superstore as quickly as he had appeared, a footnote in the epic of Flo. But his defeat was not a failure. In fact, it was one of the most important lessons in Progressive's history. The experiment proved with hard data that their initial wild success with Flo wasn't a fluke. It wasn't just that a quirky character worked. It was that authenticity, or at least the carefully constructed illusion of it, was the single most valuable asset a brand could have. They learned that in the modern media landscape, a character that can be memed is infinitely more powerful than a character that can be focus grouped. The messenger's failure didn't kill the idea of expanding the universe. It refined it. It gave Progressive a new set of rules. The Civil War was over, and Camp Flo had won. But the victory established a new law for their entire marketing cosmos. Any new character entering this world could not be a rival to Flo. They couldn't be a slick, corporate alternative. They had to be an extension of her world. They had to be just as weird, just as specific, and just as deeply human. This new law, forged in the fire of a failed internal rebellion, would directly lead them to create a whole new cast of characters. And it would eventually give them the confidence to launch their most daring, most controversial, and perhaps most brilliant creation of all, a character designed not to help you, but to stop you from becoming your parents. His name is Dr. Rick, and he's not a real doctor. He's a parental life coach, a man on a mission to cure a silent epidemic sweeping the nation's suburbs. It's an affliction that strikes new homeowners, a creeping transformation he calls parentamorphosis. The symptoms are subtle at first. You find yourself meticulously organizing the recycling. You make a little groan every time you sit down. You start a sentence with, "Okay, folks." Before you know it, you're telling a complete stranger at the grocery store that they really should be buying the organic kale. The disease is terminal self-awareness. You have become your parents. This campaign, which first aired in 2018, is arguably the single most brilliant piece of marketing in the last decade. Because it does something no other insurance company had ever dared to do. Completely ignored the product. There are no mentions of deductibles, no talk of bundling home and auto, no promises of saving you 15% or more. The entire premise is built on a deep, universal psychological truth. Nobody wants to turn into their parents. It's a primal fear for anyone between the ages of 25 and 45. It's the ghost of cringeworthy future past. And Progressive, guided by Arnold Worldwide, weaponized that fear into comedic gold. Let's break down the genius of Dr. Rick. First, the character himself. He's the perfect straight man, played with understated, weary perfection by actor Bill Glass. Dr. Rick is the calm center of a storm of parental cliches. He doesn't yell. He doesn't sell. He simply observes and gently corrects. He's like a therapist for the soul of your social life. When one of his clients proudly shows off the throw pillows on his couch, explaining, "They're not for your head, they're for support," Dr. Rick's quiet, disappointed sigh says more than 1,000 lines of dialogue. He's not judging you. He's just disappointed that you're making it so hard for yourself. This makes him incredibly relatable. He's the friend we all wish we had, the one who would pull us aside at a party and whisper, "Hey man, stop telling everyone about the great deal you got on mulch." Second, the symptoms they chose are laser accurate. This isn't just generic old people humor. It's a meticulously curated list of hyperspecific behaviors that hit way too close to home for millions. The guy who can't resist giving unsolicited advice on how to use a leaf blower. The woman who insists on reading her text messages out loud. The group of friends who can't figure out how to take a selfie without getting their fingers in the shot. Or the ultimate sign of parentamorphosis. Standing in a hardware store, looking at different shades of beige paint, and saying with genuine excitement, "Now that's a nice neutral." Each ad is a mirror, and when we look into it, we either see our own future or our parents' present. And we laugh because it's true. This is where the marketing psychology gets fascinating. Progressive isn't using positive social proof, telling you to be like a cool celebrity who uses their insurance. They're using negative social proof. They're showing you a tribe you desperately do not want to join. The tribe of people who use speakerphone in public and refer to every appetizer as an appy. The unspoken message is powerful. Smart, self-aware people who avoid becoming their parents also make smart, self-aware choices about their insurance. Progressive doesn't have to say they're the cool choice. They just have to sponsor the guy who's helping you stay cool. It's a bank shot of branding. They're selling you an identity, not a policy. And they didn't just stop at 30-second commercials. They expanded the Dr. Rick universe with a level of commitment that is breathtaking. They published a real physical book you could actually buy titled Dr. Rick Will See You Now. A guide to unbecoming your parents. Think about that. An insurance company created a piece of merchandise that people would willingly pay for and place on their coffee table. It's a Trojan horse of advertising that sits in your living room. The book is filled with more hilarious observations and advice, further cementing Dr. Rick as a legitimate cultural icon, not just a commercial character. It's the ultimate brand extension. They built a world so compelling that people wanted to own a piece of it. But creating this campaign was an enormous risk. And this is what makes it so daring. Who is the prime demographic for home insurance? It's often the very people the ads are gently parodying. Baby boomers and Gen X. These are the people with the most assets, the highest lifetime customer value. An insurance company's bread and butter. On paper, making fun of your core customer base is marketing suicide. It's like a fast food chain running ads about the dangers of obesity. One false move, one joke that lands as mean-spirited instead of observational, and you could alienate millions of potential and current customers. So how did they pull it off? The key is the tone. The humor in the Dr. Rick ads is never cruel. It's warm, it's knowing, and it's rooted in love. We laugh at these characters because we recognize them. We see our own dad struggling to open a PDF or our mom asking the waiter for just a ton of napkins. The campaign isn't mocking parents. It's celebrating the hilarious, quirky, and sometimes frustrating things that make them who they are. And because the ads are framed through the lens of their children trying not to pick up these habits, it gives older viewers a way to be in on the joke. They can watch, laugh, and say, "Oh, I totally do that." It turns a potential insult into a moment of shared recognition. It's a tightrope walk of comedy, and they never fall. The Dr. Rick campaign proved that the success of Flow wasn't a fluke. It was a formula that could be replicated, adapted, and evolved. The core components were all there. A lovable, non-sleazy character who embodies a single, powerful idea. A relatable human problem that transcends the product itself. And a consistent, entertaining world for that character to live in. With Flow, the problem was the confusion of insurance shopping. With Dr. Rick, the problem was the horror of suburban assimilation. Both were solved not with a sales pitch, but with a story and a smile. Progressive now had a stable of superstars. They had Flo, the quirky veteran. They had Jamie, her lovable sidekick who was coming into his own. And now they had Dr. Rick, the wise philosophical guru of modern adulthood. They were like the Avengers of advertising. Each character appealed to a slightly different demographic, a different psychological need. But they all existed under the same brand umbrella. The question was, what do you do with a roster this powerful? Do you keep them separate, each ruling over their own little corner of the marketing kingdom? Or do you do something even bolder? Do you have them cross over? Progressive was about to build more than just a character or a campaign. They were about to build a universe. A connected world where all of these iconic figures could coexist, interact, and reinforce the same central message, creating a brand so dominant, so culturally omnipresent, that it would become something more than just an insurance company. It would become a media empire. And this media empire was built not with brick and mortar, but with something far more powerful, a shared universe. We throw around the term cinematic universe a lot these days thanks to Marvel. We think of Iron Man meeting Thor, of Captain America fighting alongside the Guardians of the Galaxy. It's the idea that individual stories, no matter how different, are all threads in a single massive tapestry. Progressive didn't just stumble upon this idea. They mastered it. They perfected it for the 30-second format. They built the first and arguably the most successful advertising cinematic universe in history. Let's call it the PCU, the Progressive Commercial Universe. The creation of the PCU wasn't an accident. It was a deliberate strategic masterstroke. It solved a fundamental problem in advertising: fragmentation. How do you introduce new campaigns, new characters, and new ideas without confusing the audience or diluting the power of your original icon? Flo? The answer: you don't create separate campaigns. You create spin-offs. You create crossover events. You establish a set of rules for your universe that allows for both consistency and infinite expansion. The first and most important rule of the PCU is the existence of a central gravitational hub. For Progressive, that hub is and always will be the Superstore. It's their Stark Tower, their Jedi Temple. It's the fixed point in a constantly turning world. It's a clean, white, almost heavenly space that represents the brand's core promise: simplicity, clarity, and help. Flo is the master of this domain. She is the constant. So when a new character like Jamie was introduced, he wasn't launched in a vacuum. He was placed directly into Flo's world, into the Superstore. He became her sidekick, her apprentice. This immediately transferred a decade of audience trust and affection for Flo onto this new character. We accepted Jamie because Flo accepted him. The hub provided the context. The established icon provided the endorsement. The second rule is the strategic use of the crossover. This is where the PCU truly shines and where it mimics the blockbuster formula of Hollywood. For years, we saw Flo and her crew in the Superstore. Then we were introduced to a completely different set of characters in a completely different world: the Parental Life Coaches, led by Dr. Rick. These ads had a different tone, a different style. They were satirical, observational comedies about the horrors of turning into your parents. On the surface, they had nothing to do with Flo. But then Progressive did something brilliant. They aired a commercial where Dr. Rick and his group of young homeowners are on a field trip to the Progressive Superstore. And who is there to greet them? Flo and Jamie. This single moment was the Avengers moment for Progressive. It was a collision of worlds that sent a powerful message to the audience's subconscious. It confirmed that these aren't just separate random commercials. They are all part of one cohesive story. Dr. Rick's world of parentamorphosis and Flo's world of insurance savings exist on the same plane of reality. This act of narrative unification is incredibly potent. It makes the brand's world feel bigger, more real, and more intricate. It rewards long-term viewers with an aha moment, making them feel like they're in on the secret. It encourages them to pay closer attention, to look for other connections, to treat these commercials not as interruptions, but as episodes in an ongoing series. This leads to the third, and perhaps most subtle rule of the PCU: thematic resonance. Even when the characters don't physically cross over, the campaigns are designed to orbit the same central themes. Think about it. Flo and the Superstore represent the solution: easy, friendly insurance. Dr. Rick and the Parental Life campaign represent the problem: the overwhelming, confusing, and often comical challenges of adulting, specifically homeownership. One campaign shows you the stress, the other shows you the relief. They are two sides of the same coin. The sign spinner, Another character represents the unbridled, almost manic enthusiasm of a satisfied customer. The rebel character, played by John Hamm, represents the romantic, but ultimately flawed, alternative to stable insurance. Each character and campaign is like a different planet in the same solar system, held in orbit by the same gravitational pull of customer anxiety and Progressive's promise of a solution. Let's dissect the genius of the Dr. Rick crossover a bit more. When Dr. Rick brings his group to the Superstore, he's treating it like a museum of good decisions. He points out the Name Your Price tool as a marvel of responsible adult behavior. In that moment, Flo isn't just a cashier. She's a curator of financial stability. Jamie isn't just a stock boy. He's a guardian of savings. The ad cleverly uses the authority and comedic persona of a new character, Dr. Rick, to reframe and reinforce the value proposition of the original characters. It's an endorsement from within their own fictional universe. This is so much more powerful than a celebrity endorsement from the outside world. It feels authentic to the story they've been telling for years. This interconnectedness creates a powerful psychological effect, known as a narrative network. When you see one Progressive ad, you don't just process that single 30-second message. Your brain automatically activates the entire network of associated characters, stories, and emotions. A Dr. Rick ad primes you to think about homeownership, which primes you to think about insurance, which leads you to Flo. An ad with Jamie and Flo reinforces their buddy cop dynamic, which makes you feel a sense of warmth and familiarity, which you then associate with the Progressive brand. It's a web of memories and feelings, and every new commercial strengthens the connections, making the entire structure more resilient and more memorable. This is how they built a media empire. They stopped thinking like advertisers and started thinking like showrunners. They're not just selling a product, they're building a world. They're creating intellectual property. Flo, Jamie, and Dr. Rick are as much a part of American pop culture as characters from a hit sitcom. People dress up as them for Halloween. They quote their lines. They have favorite episodes. Progressive has achieved the advertiser's holy grail. They've created ads that people actually want to watch, that they talk about, that they share. They've turned their marketing budget into an entertainment production studio. And by building this universe, they ensured that every dollar spent didn't just promote a single fleeting message, but contributed to building a lasting, ever-expanding brand narrative. A narrative so compelling that it was about to take on its biggest challenge yet: the chaotic, unpredictable world of social media. This new battleground wasn't a 30-second slot between primetime shows. It was a 24/7, always-on digital town square. And in this arena, brands were no longer the main event. They were just noise. The audience was in control, armed with the power to scroll, to mute, and to mercilessly criticize anything that felt fake, forced, or overtly corporate. A traditional ad campaign would be dead on arrival. So how could a fictional insurance clerk in a white apron possibly survive, let alone thrive? In a world built on authenticity and instant feedback, Progressive's answer was both breathtakingly simple and profoundly brilliant. They didn't create a social media page for Progressive, the corporation. They created a social media page for Flo, the person. Think about that for a second. This wasn't just a branding decision. It was a fundamental shift in the relationship between a company and its audience. You weren't liking an insurance giant. You were friending a character you already knew. You weren't following a corporate mandate. You were following the quirky updates of a familiar face. This single decision short-circuited the audience's natural cynicism towards brand advertising online. It transformed a one-way broadcast into a potential two-way conversation. And this is where the character as platform strategy revealed its true power. Flo wasn't just a static mascot posting insurance tips. She became a living, breathing digital personality. Her social media presence was a masterclass in maintaining character integrity. When a new viral meme swept the internet, Flo wouldn't just ignore it. She'd participate, but in a way that was uniquely her. Her take would be slightly goofy, endearingly earnest, and always helpful. She'd post behind-the-scenes photos from the Superstore, giving her followers a peek into her world. She'd answer questions from fans, not with corporate-approved jargon, but with the same peppy, can-do attitude from the commercials. This created something advertisers spend billions trying to manufacture: a parasocial relationship. That's the psychological term for the one-sided bond we form with media figures. We feel like we know them. We root for them. We see them as part of our lives, even though they have no idea we exist. By making Flo a responsive, interactive presence on social media, Progressive turned a fictional character into a digital friend for millions of people. People weren't just tolerating ads anymore. They were actively seeking out content from an insurance company. They were inviting Flo into their daily news feeds. This digital strategy supercharged the core tenets of the Progressive formula. The relatability engine, which had been humming along on television, was now strapped to a rocket. Flo wasn't just in a generic store anymore. She was in your world. She was commenting on the same big game you were watching, celebrating the same holidays, and maybe even complaining about the same rainy weather. This constant low-stakes interaction kept the character, and by extension the brand, top of mind in a way that no television ad ever could. It was a gentle, persistent hum of brand awareness, woven directly into the fabric of daily life. And it wasn't just about Flo. The chaos of social media was the perfect environment for the entire Progressive universe to flourish. The platform allowed them to micro-target content like never before. Dr. Rick, the Parentamorphosis expert, became a star on platforms like Twitter and Instagram. His feed wasn't about insurance. It was an endless stream of hilarious, bite-sized observations about parents turning into their parents. Tips for avoiding a live, laugh, love sign. A support group for those who still print out directions. This content was so shareable, so funny, and so painfully true that people shared it without even thinking about the brand behind it. They were sharing a universal human experience, and Progressive was just the facilitator. Meanwhile, other characters could carve out their own niches. The bumbling but lovable Jamie could have his own series of awkward social media moments. The rival insurance characters could engage in mock online feuds. Each piece of content, whether a tweet, a short video, or a simple image, acted as another thread in the ever-expanding narrative tapestry. It was world-building on a granular daily scale. You didn't need to see a commercial to be reminded of the Progressive universe. You just had to scroll through your phone. But this strategy was walking a tightrope over a canyon of failure. The risk was enormous. One wrong move, one tone-deaf tweet, one post that broke character, and the entire illusion would shatter. The audience would see the corporate puppeteer behind the curtain, and the backlash would be swift and brutal. Maintaining the authenticity of these fictional characters across thousands of daily interactions required an almost fanatical devotion to detail and an incredibly deep understanding of each character's voice. The team behind Flo's Twitter account had to be Flo. The writers creating Dr. Rick's posts had to think and talk like Dr. Rick. Any slip-up would expose the entire operation as a cynical marketing ploy. Yet they pulled it off. They navigated the treacherous waters of real-time social engagement with remarkable skill. The reward for this high-wire act was a level of brand loyalty that money can't buy. People weren't just customers, they were fans. They dressed up as Flo and Jamie for Halloween and proudly posted the pictures, generating millions of dollars in free advertising. They defended the brand in comment sections. They created their own fan art and memes, further embedding the characters into the cultural lexicon. Progressive had achieved the holy grail of modern marketing. They had transcended advertising and become a part of pop culture itself. They had done it not by shouting the loudest, but by creating characters so compelling and relatable that people chose to engage with them. The secret formula, relatability, consistency, and narrative expansion, had been validated on the world's biggest stage. It was a triumph of creative, character-driven marketing. The friendly faces, the funny scenarios, the relatable moments. It all felt so organic, so effortless. But behind this charming facade of digital friendship and shareable memes, a different kind of machine was at work. A machine that was colder, more calculating, and ruthlessly efficient. Because for Progressive, every like, every share, and every comment wasn't just a sign of affection. It was a data point, and they were about to use this mountain of data to refine their formula to a terrifying degree of precision, turning the art of relatability into an exact science. This new science began not in a sterile lab, but in the chaotic, unfiltered comment sections of the internet. Progressive's marketing team, armed with powerful analytical tools, started to dissect the language of their audience. They weren't just counting likes. They were analyzing the emotions behind them. They used sentiment analysis to understand if a comment was just a laugh, or if it signaled genuine brand affinity. They tracked which jokes were being screenshotted and turned into memes. They identified which of Flo's quirky mannerisms were being quoted back at them. They discovered, for example, that comments mentioning Flo's interactions with other characters, like her trainee Jamie, received 30% more positive engagement than ads where Flo was alone. The audience didn't just love Flo. They loved her in a specific context, as the competent, slightly exasperated mentor to a lovable, bumbling subordinate. This was a goldmine. It told them the formula wasn't just a character, it was a dynamic. It was a sitcom, so they leaned in hard. Jamie's role was expanded. His awkwardness was dialed up. His misplaced confidence became a running gag. Every new ad was a test. They would create multiple versions of a single commercial. In one, Jamie's punchline would be a bit more cringy. In another, slightly more endearing. They would release these variations simultaneously across different digital platforms, targeting different demographics. This is the microslice strategy. They weren't just throwing ads at the wall to see what stuck. They were throwing dozens of scientifically engineered darts at a board, measuring the results of each one with microscopic precision. The data would pour in within hours. Version A resonated with millennial women on Instagram. Version B was a hit with Gen X men on Facebook. Version C, the cringy one, performed best on YouTube with viewers under 25. Progressive was no longer making one commercial for everyone. They were making a specific commercial for you, tailored to the exact flavor of humor their data said you would respond to. They knew what you found funny before you did. And while they were perfecting this new data-driven sitcom, their competitors were scrambling to catch up. Geico had its witty gecko. Allstate had the charismatic chaos of mayhem. State Farm had the reliable, handsome Jake. These were strong mascots, no doubt. They were memorable. But they were all, in essence, solo acts. They were the stars of their own show. Progressive realized the future wasn't a star. It was a cast. It was a universe. Their response to the competition wasn't to make Flow funnier or more prominent. It was to build out the Progressive cinematic universe. They started introducing new characters, each one a carefully crafted solution to a specific marketing problem. They needed to appeal to cynical, no-nonsense customers. They created Mara, Flow's deadpan, unimpressed coworker who delivered brutally honest savings information. The data showed that while many loved Flow's enthusiasm, a segment of the audience found it grating. Mara was the antidote. She was the yin to Flow's yang, capturing an entirely new demographic without alienating the existing one. But their masterstroke, the character that truly shows the terrifying genius of this formula, was Dr. Rick. Dr. Rick is one of the most brilliant marketing creations of the 21st century, because Dr. Rick doesn't sell you insurance. He sells you self-awareness. He diagnoses a condition he invented: parentamorphosis, the process of slowly, horrifyingly turning into your parents. Think about the genius of this. The target demographic is anyone aged roughly 30 to 55. What is a near-universal, deeply relatable, and slightly horrifying experience for that group? The moment you open your mouth and your father's words come out. The moment you realize you grunt when you sit down. The moment you need help with the TV remote and say things like, "We've all got a learning curve." Progressive identified a cultural pain point that had nothing to do with insurance and everything to do with identity, and they offered a solution. Dr. Rick became a parental life coach, helping new homeowners avoid the pitfalls of their parents' behavior. The ads are a masterclass in observational humor. Who reads books about submarines? The waiter doesn't need to know your name. We're not going to be those people who clog the aisles. Each line is a mirror held up to the audience. It creates an immediate, powerful connection. It's an inside joke shared by tens of millions of people. And the underlying message is subtle but powerful. What is the ultimate sign of turning into your parents? Being stuck in your old ways. Using the same old bank. Having the same old, complicated insurance you've had for decades. The implicit promise is that choosing Progressive, a modern, easy-to-use company, is a way to fight off parentamorphosis. It's a small act of rebellion against becoming your dad who prints out directions. It connects the old way of doing things with an outdated insurance model and the new way with Progressive. It's not a logical argument, it's a deeply emotional one. And this wasn't a lucky guess. The Dr. Rick campaign was born from the same data that refined Flo and Jamie. The analytics showed that observational humor about everyday struggles and life stages had the highest engagement rates. They saw the success of internet memes about adulting. They hypothesized that a campaign centered on this specific, hilarious struggle of middle age would be explosive. They were right. The Dr. Rick commercials went viral in a way that even the best Flo ads never did. People weren't just sharing them. They were tagging their friends, their siblings, their spouses, saying, "This is you," or "This is us." Each tag, each comment was another data point fed back into the Progressive machine. They learned which parentisms were the most relatable. They saw which scenarios generated the most discussion. And they used that information to write the next batch of scripts. They created a self-perpetuating feedback loop of relatability, turning a simple ad campaign into a cultural phenomenon. They had created a universe of characters. They had perfected data-driven humor. They had turned relatability into a precision-guided weapon. From the outside, it looked like they had simply cornered the market on funny, likable commercials. But beneath the surface of the jokes, the name tags, and the parental life coaching, a much deeper psychological strategy was at play. They had built an empire on making us laugh, but the final, most powerful element of their formula wasn't about humor at all. It was about weaponizing a fundamental human fear, a fear so primal that once you see how they use it, you will never look at an advertisement the same way again. The fear they weaponize is the fear of becoming your parents. Think about it. For a huge segment of the population, particularly those in the key demographic of buying their first home or bundling insurance, there is a deep-seated, often unspoken anxiety about turning into their mom or dad. It's the fear of losing your edge, of becoming cliché, of your personality being replaced by a collection of well-worn phrases and predictable habits. It's the fear that the unique, vibrant person you believe yourself to be will slowly be eroded by the mundane realities of adult life, leaving behind a person who gets genuinely excited about a new set of Tupperware. Progressive didn't just notice this fear. They built an entire campaign around it, one of the most brilliant and psychologically astute campaigns in modern advertising history, Parentamorphosis. The premise is simple and horrifyingly relatable. A young adult, a new homeowner, suddenly starts exhibiting the traits of their parents. A man can't help but exclaim, "We've got a gusher," when a pipe bursts. A woman starts arranging decorative pillows with the intensity of a bomb disposal expert. Another man finds himself unable to walk past a thermostat without critiquing its setting. They haven't been possessed by a demon, they've been possessed by something far more terrifying: their own lineage. This is where the genius of the formula clicks into its final terrifying gear. The humor isn't just in the observation. The humor is a sugar coating on a very bitter pill of anxiety. We laugh because we recognize the behavior. We've seen our parents do it. We've maybe even caught ourselves saying risotto instead of risotto. The laughter is a defense mechanism against the creeping dread that this could be us. The ad holds up a mirror and says, "Look, this is your future. This is the abyss." It starts with a welcome mat and ends with you telling strangers how to load a dishwasher. And into this manufactured crisis of identity steps the hero. Not Flo, not Jamie, but a new kind of savior: Dr. Rick. He's a parental life coach, a man dedicated to helping new homeowners avoid becoming their parents. He runs support groups where he has to stop people from printing out directions. He takes them to the hardware store and teaches them not to say "big fella" to the employees. He shows them how to open a PDF. Dr. Rick is the personification of progressive solution. The problem, parentamorphosis, is a loss of control. It's your identity being hijacked by involuntary, uncool behaviors. Dr. Rick offers the tools to regain that control. He's not selling insurance directly. He's selling self-awareness. He's selling a way to fight back against the tide of parental cliches. And what is the ultimate tool he implicitly endorses? The one thing that brought on this condition in the first place? Buying a home. And how do you prove you're a smart, capable, independent adult who is in complete control of this new chapter of your life? By making the smart, simple choice for your insurance. By bundling home and auto with Progressive. The psychological jujitsu here is breathtaking. They've taken a product that is, by its very nature, one of the most adult, parent-like things you can buy, and repositioned it as an act of youthful rebellion. Choosing Progressive isn't what your parents would do. It's what a smarter version of your parents would do. It's the choice you make to assert your own identity, to prove that you have this whole adulting thing handled, and that you won't be succumbing to the siren song of cushioned toilet seats and books on tape. This final element, weaponizing the fear of losing your cool, is the engine that powers the entire marketing machine. It's the hidden current beneath the funny characters and relatable situations. Let's assemble the whole formula. The complete blueprint that has made Progressive a titan of the industry. First, you build a consistent, recognizable universe. The Superstore. It's a clean, bright, almost heavenly space that serves as a stage for all their stories. It establishes the brand as a physical and mental destination. Second, you populate that universe with powerful archetypes. You have the savior, Flo, who brings order to chaos. You have the fool, Jamie, whose enthusiasm and incompetence make Flo seem even more heroic and make the brand feel approachable and human. You have the everyman, the customer, who is lost and confused, reflecting the audience's own anxieties about insurance. And you have the mentor, Dr. Rick, who guides the audience away from their deepest fears. Third, you use situational comedy rooted in universal, high-stakes life moments. Buying a car, getting married, moving into a new house. These aren't random scenarios. They are the exact moments when people are most in need of insurance and most stressed about making the right choice. By making us laugh in those moments, Progressive builds a powerful positive association. They become the friendly face in a stressful time. And finally, the masterstroke. You identify a deep primal fear, the fear of becoming an uncool, out-of-touch cliché of your parents, and you frame it as the central problem. You create a villain that isn't another insurance company. It's a version of your future self you desperately want to avoid. Then you present your product not as a boring necessity, but as the ultimate solution. The one smart, easy decision that restores your sense of control, affirms your identity, and proves you're not just another cog in the generational machine. That is the secret. It's a 4-part system that transforms brand awareness into brand loyalty. It's why you know their characters' names, but can't name a single person from a Liberty Mutual ad. It's why their commercials feel less like interruptions and more like mini sitcoms you're actually willing to watch. They aren't just selling you a policy, they are selling you a feeling. The feeling of being smart, the feeling of being in control, the feeling of being, well, not your parents. They have cracked the code on making one of the most intangible, unexciting products on earth feel essential, not just for your car or your home, but for your very identity. They don't just offer a shield for your assets, they offer a shield for your ego. And once you see this formula, the universe, the archetypes, the situation, the fear, you will start to see it everywhere. You'll see echoes of it in fast food ads that promise a quick escape from the drudgery of adult cooking. You'll see it in car commercials that sell not just transportation, but a last gasp of youthful freedom. Progressive simply does it better, more consistently, and more cleverly than anyone else. They've built an empire not on price points or coverage options, but on a profound understanding of human psychology. They know what we find funny, but more importantly, they know what we secretly fear. So the next time you see Flo confidently holding her Name Your Price tool, or Dr. Rick stopping someone from saying, "We're expecting a little one," remember what's really happening. You're not just watching a commercial, you're participating in a carefully constructed psychological play, designed to make you laugh, make you anxious, and then make you feel like their product is the only thing that can save you from yourself.